A very good evening, a warm welcome to Two Full Tossers with myself and the brilliant Alan Committie. A very special edition of the show brought to you by Mike Gatting Salads for the sportsman who wants to stay in shape. And it's appropriate that Mike Gatting Salads sponsors this evening's show because we've got an extra special, incredibly famous, globally acclaimed star who is the reason why I'm wearing this particular jacket and shirt, but we'll get to that just a little later. Good evening, Alan Committie. How are you?
I'm more delightful than you can imagine. I've just managed to watch a catch-up of Love Island from last night. Isn't it not brilliant? What's the word I'm thinking of? Awful, but I'm happy to have done it. I've got it behind me, and now this is the real delight of the evening, to spend some time with you and our guest, and with the fun we're going to have over the next 22 minutes. Unfortunately, the show is 27 minutes, so I don't know what that missing 5 minutes is going to be about, but let's see.
Possibly some Love Island South Africa highlights making its debut last night. Very excited about a guest tonight. Very excited, though, to also find out who Alan's lost legend is. We'll find out exactly who it is in a few minutes' time, but give us the sneak preview on this week's Alan's Lost Legend.
Right, so here's a pic of the gentleman we're going to be talking about. Delightful. You can see I've given you a strong clue there. He's a bowler, right arm, lumbering and in the air. Look at that dainty little toes, almost like the guest we're about to interview. Who is this? If you know, pop your comments into the chat column, and we'll talk about this lost legend, who is no Lee Barnard, but he is certainly someone worth giving a shout out to later in the show.
He's clearly a very fast bowler because his hair is all pushed halfway up his head, sort of like a young Montgomery Burns from The Simpsons.
To be fair, Jacques Cullis's hair was also pushed all the way back, wasn't it? And he wasn't that fast.
This is true. Let's move from Jacques Cullis's hair to something equally magnificent. And the final of the T20 Cup. I think the Betway T20 Cup, it became halfway through. And it was probably as fine an example as I've seen, Alan Committie, of two teams trying extremely hard not to win the match.
It was an extraordinary game. They somehow made it very exciting, even though very little cricket skill seemed to be on display at times. Who could bat the worst and bowl in ways that would make the batting look better than the bowling, which wasn't good? But there you are. That's cricket. It was still worth watching. And listen, the more impressive thing over 10 days is Kingsmead and Durban showing off fine weather. No rain, light, even in the morning, light, sun shining. I was just absolutely flabbergasted and very impressed. Well done for putting on a pretty good tournament, all in all.
No rain in Durban. It is unheard of, but we got through. And congratulations to the Lions, Temba Bavuma and his team, who are the T20 champions. And we've now got a Pakistan series coming, and we have got a series in Ireland. And then I think we're going to play Malawi. And then we've got an away series against Peru and possibly Papua New Guinea looming as well. It's all very exciting.
It's tremendous. Where are Australia not playing? Because I'm sure there's another country they've pulled out of and not going. Do we know yet? Is there another list that's been released yet? Do we know? Do we care? No, we don't. We don't care.
Well, I think at the moment they are busy trying to host the South Africa British and Irish Lions series. They've offered Wimbledon, the Masters, the Monaco Grand Prix. There's basically nothing the Australians aren't trying to host at the moment. And so our fondness for them just grows by the day, really, doesn't it, Alan?
Really? Wish they'd focus on winning some T20 games. Shame.
Speaking of which, did you see that Wellington Otago game, the one-day game in New Zealand? Wellington
was
58.
That's right. Extraordinary. The very opposite T20 game that we saw yesterday, which I think was about 38 runs in total for everyone. It's extraordinary. Runs are plenty out in New Zealand. Well done them.
And I make that point, and you reinforce it, because in New Zealand, they have T20 players trying to get into their national T20 team. We very cunningly have players using T20 as a platform for Test cricket, which I think is a very, very strong method. Aha. Out the box with cricket, the box. All right. We're not going to talk too much today, partly because there hasn't been a huge amount of cricket played, other than that was played the weekend, but also because our guest is just absolutely fabulous. And I'm truly, truly excited to have him on. So before we bring him on, we're giving people a few moments. Send in a comment if you have one to let us know who you think that might be. I think we have one guest already, which looks to be right. But put us out of misery. Introduce us before we go to our guest tonight to Alan's Lost Legend.
So this Monday's He's No Lee Barnard Lost Legend is not South African, but that's in tribute to our international flavored guest that we're about to chat to. I racked my brain, Iraq giving us a clue there, racked my brain back to a series that when I was growing up watching cricket was one of the first that I was exposed to, which was the Rebel Australians coming to our shores, and he was their premier fast bowler. He would open the bowling with Terry Alderman, another fine exponent of that skill. But this that you're looking at is our shout out this week. It is none other than Carl the Hulk Rackerman, a very imposing figure. His run up was 87 kilometers and would sometimes start 3 or 4 stadiums away, and he'd come lumbering in with great pace, a lot of aggression. He was a pretty scary prospect to watch him. And yet when you saw him in press conferences afterwards, I remember this even as a youngster, a very jovial, friendly, convivial man, and very un-Australian, in fact, if I'm honest. He is this week's shout out, a lost legend, but no Lee Barnard, Carl Rackerman. Well done, Mon.
Monty Stevenson, all the way from Canada, wins. So he gets, I think we'll send him one of those Mike Gatting salads. Exactly there we go. Yeah, the double cheeseburger salad with a side order of salad fries. Okay, so tonight's guest. Now we did have, and we were very excited about this, we did have Kevin Peterson, the former KwaZulu-Natal lower order batsman, who was going to be joining us this evening. But we've managed to go one better and one significantly better, because tonight we have one of the greatest ballroom dancers of all time. He's not once, not twice, but a 3-time Strictly Come Dancing champion. He also is the second highest wicket taker ever for England. And he is our very special guest tonight, all the way from Milton Keynes. It gives me great pleasure for the first time on Two Full Tosses to say good evening to Mr. Darren Gough.
Whoa!
How you doing? You're okay?
Extremely well. I'm really particularly well because I've spent most of today, Darren, watching highlights videos of you in Strictly Come Dancing, and I think I know you get this question all the time, particularly from Indian cricket journalists, but we're going to ask it nonetheless. Over the first series you won, the first Christmas special, and then the second Christmas special, which do you think was the greatest performance, and what accounted for that longevity and the ability to perform on so many different surfaces and with so many different skills required?
Listen, mate, I pulled out of a Pakistan tour, right? Who could blame me back then? And I had the offer to do quite a few TV shows. One was called Love Island, Celebrity Love Island back then, way back in 2005, and I didn't think that was a good career move because I was getting divorced during that period, so the divorce lawyers were on to me. The second one was to do a program where you go and hide in a jungle for 2 weeks and you lose loads of weight, which was ideal, but I'm scared to death of snakes. And the third one was Strictly. I just thought, well, I'll do Strictly because you get the same money and I'll be out in week 1. But what followed was me scraping through week 1 after I did a cha-cha-cha. And to go from that then to be near top of the leaderboard every single week and winning it. I was the first male winner to win it, which was amazing because we had people like Colin Jackson was on the show I did. Unbelievable athlete. He was a great dancer. But in the final, he decided he wanted to dance with this like dummy, and it wasn't his partner, it was an actual dummy, rather than dance with his partner. And soon as that happened, a lot of people came up to me before I'd even danced and said, "Congratulations, you've won." I went, "Okay, I'll take that." And that was it. So I went and did that, did the Christmas special, and then I went back a few years later and did the Champion of Champions, which I think was the most special, really. Let's be honest about it, because you beat other champions as well. But I'm totally retired now, mate. I'm 50. I'm finished. That part of my life is over. I'm done.
But you, and this is an important legacy. I know there was some cricket, and we might talk about that at some stage. But the legacy you created, you were the first cricketer to win Strictly Come Dancing. I know, complete surprise. Alan had thought that Mike Gatting must have won it at some point. Incredible that he hadn't. But you opened the doors, and you were able to give the chance to far lesser cricketers like Mark Ramprakash to take a similar step into the limelight.
Well, listen. Like I say, I was the first male winner. Ramprakash followed me the year after he won it. He was a pretty good dancer. He has plenty of time to dance. I would rather drink. He likes dancing. He doesn't drink. So that's how I won it. People still don't realise. Vaughan tried. He failed. Tufnell tried. He failed. But since me and Ramprakash, I think there's quite a few cricketers desperate to get on the show, but none considered famous enough as yet. Gatt, I think's tried, Gooch has tried, and they cannot get on it. I think the next one we might see on that TV show a few years down the line will probably be Jimmy Anderson, I would say. Down the line, we're talking, he is 40, nearly 40, and he still thinks he's going to be playing in another 5 years, but at some point, I have no doubt we will see him on Strictly.
And he's got lovely rhythm and swing, hasn't he?
Well, he has got great swing. So I would say he'd be pretty good at a couple of the moves. The American Smooth, I reckon, would be Jimmy Anderson's dance. I'll tell you one, people, we're talking about somebody I replaced tonight, Kevin Peterson. Wouldn't we all love to see KP on Strictly Come Dancing? I mean, can you imagine it? Can you actually imagine him on Strictly Come Dancing?
How do you... When you're dancing with your partner, if I'm imagining Kevin with a partner, where would his ego, is that behind, does it come between? What do you do with the ego? Where do you put that on the dance floor?
I don't know, but can you imagine the communication between the two and that pure Kevin Peterson arrogance? I mean, I can't imagine any conversation whatsoever. No, we're doing this one because I do it better than the other one, so we're doing this one. And like I said, I've always said that about Kev now. He's the only bloke I know who fell in love with himself, age 16, and he's managed to stay faithful ever since, lads. I mean, so can you imagine him on Strictly? Can you just imagine him?
Oh dear, let's talk about Kevin for a moment, because for me this is a fantastic story. You were the best man at his wedding, but it was only subsequently that I discovered that was a booking that he'd made with your management agency, and he'd actually paid you to come along and play the role of best man as a famous lieutenant for the day.
Well, yes, I was his only friend. Shall we put it that way? I think what happened, just to tell you the story, because there is a big age gap between us. I think it's 10 years, right? So I was a senior player going and got picked to go to South Africa in 2004. And Duncan Fletcher, the coach, came up to me and said, listen, we're going to pick this lad called Kevin Peterson. Do you know him? I said, I think I played against him once. I played against him actually in South Africa in 99 when he played for Durban, and he batted number 10. He batted 10 and bowled off spin. And I thought, oh, God, he's rubbish, this kid. But I played against him when he played for Notts, and he didn't get any. And so that's all I'd seen of Kev. And then suddenly he said, we're going to pick this guy, Kevin Peterson. I think he's pretty good player, but he's going to be going back to South Africa, which is going to be an hard tour for him. He's going to take a lot of stick, a lot of stick. He says, but I think you're the perfect man to take him under your wing and look after him. I went, are you sure about that? And they said, yeah. So me and Kev, like I said, we went out to South Africa. We had 2 days off when we got there, and we got to know each other pretty well. We went out and proper had 2 days on the sauce. I will be honest about it. We stayed at the Santon Sun in Joburg, and we hammered Johannesburg for 2 days. And we basically became inseparable. We became best mates. I bowled at him in the nets. I remember there was a test match going on at Centurion during the time when we arrived for the one-dayers. And we bowled at each other. I bowled at him in the nets. I promise you guys, I'm not just saying this. From the moment I bowled at him, I thought this kid is on a different level to anything I've ever bowled to in my life in an England shirt. in any nets. We've had great players. We had Graham Hick, you know what I mean? We've had others. We've had Stewie. We had Thorpe and all these guys. But bowling to Kevin Peterson in the nets at Centurion, he basically smashed me to all parts. I nearly retired before that series started. He was unbelievable, guys. I promise you. Some of the shots he played on juicy nets, I've never seen anything like it, and not seen anything like it since.
Wow, that's some testament. That's amazing.
It was an extraordinary talent, and you did face many of them. And by and large, you finished up on top, and that's why you've got the record that you do and why you're revered as one of the England greats. But there were days, let's pick a random one, say, I don't know, bowling to Graham Smith at Lords as he skipped his way to 258 with a collection of cover drives through mid-wicket. Were there days like that when you thought, you know what, I probably should have signed that contract with Rotherham?
Yeah, of course. It's nice of you to pick me last test match, boys. That's probably why I did retire. I always say to Smudger when I see him, he's the cricketer that finished my career. He got 200 back to back, Edgbaston and Lords. But let me just tell people, because so basically in 2001, I'd been man of the series, I think 3 series in a row for England. I decided to have a winter off, not go to India for some one days because of everything what was happening around the world at that time. I don't have to mention it, but we all know what was going on. And me and a few other guys decided to miss that tour. But I played in the one-day games. We were guaranteed security. Then we went on to New Zealand. Then I got injured. And then I had what carried on over the next 18 months to play, to have 6 operations on my right knee. Now, I didn't play a test match from the West Indies series, when I was man of the series in 2001, till those 2 tests in 2003. And the only reason I played, which not many people know, is I made my comeback that year, 2003 in the summer, start of the year. They played Zimbabwe in 2 tests, which I'd love to have played and missed, because Zimbabwe then were rubbish. Not like the team in the 90s that were decent with Flower, Whittle and all them guys. So I played in the one days against South Africa, and we got to the final. And in the final, I bowled really well. I got Callis and Gibbs out. I got 2 for 8 off something like 7 overs. And there was no intention of playing in any of the test match, because back then they had Anderson who were playing, they'd had Hogarth, they'd had Johnson, who had all played, Caddick, who had all played in the one against Zimbabwe. But because I bowled so well and there was a few injuries, he said, listen, do us a favour. I know we were going to rest you and you were going to go see your surgeon to get checked out. But can you play at Edgbaston? It's going to do a bit. It's going to seam around and swing, so you'll be able to get away with bowling probably 15 overs each innings. Yeah, they won the toss, they battered, and Graham Smith got 200 and odd. And then it was on to Lords. And then he said, listen, I know your knee's size of a dustbin, but we're playing at Lords. Your record at Lords is about 22 per wicket over your career. You've had 8 fourthers there. You've got to play at Lords. I played at Lords. Flattest pitch I've played in my whole career. Graham Smith batted for 2.5 days before skittling us. Nantini skittled us, didn't he? Got 8 foot. Nantini bowled unbelievable that on a flat pitch, let me tell you. But that finished me. But they're the only 2 tests I played in like 2 years because of. And then I just decided, but I couldn't play Test cricket anymore because I was bowling about 85 miles an hour, 84 miles an hour, rather than 89 miles an hour. And that for me was a massive difference to the way I bowled. I wasn't a Jimmy Anderson. I was someone who had a good Yorker, fantastic Yorkers, good slow ball, good bouncer. And I swung the new ball, which everybody knew. But once that had gone, that magic had gone, I just thought one day cricket for me, try and get a few more years out of it, which I managed.
You've had incredible achievements over the years. Sometimes, and I say this with love and respect, it felt like you were the most skilled player in that English setup for a couple of years. I mean, it was fantastic. But perhaps the thing we should remember you for, I mean, amongst all the other achievements, is that you took the only other wicket when Devon Malcolm ripped through us and made us look very silly. Why would you take away the one he had an opportunity to get a 10 for?
I'd taken it again tomorrow. It's a test wicket. I I got the best player out that day. I got Daryl Cullinan out, caught slip. But what a spell that was from Devon, you know.
That was incredible.
I never thought we saw the best of Devon, really, over a whole series. That I watched him. I remember '93 in the West Indies when I was just coming through. I was a reserve for that on standby, but I was over there pre-season. I saw him bowl at Barbados in a Test match, and he bowled rapid, you know. I thought this bloke's just going to run through team after team after team, and it never really happened, did it, for Devon? But that Test match, what you're talking about in South Africa, wow. Sorry, 1993, that series I was when I was a young kid. But that Test match against South Africa, I've never seen anybody bowl that fast ever in a Test match. And let's get one thing straight, though. And Devon tells the story when he got hit by De Villiers, Farney, right? I was at the other end, remember? 48 not out. And he gave his wicket away and got skittled after he got hit on the bombs. I'd gone down to him and said, whatever you do, don't get out this next ball. Stumps flying everywhere. So a couple of things. I've never forgiven him for stopping me getting a 50 against South Africa. And the other one, he never ever said, you guys are history. When he got hit on the head, right, things of his helmet splattered everywhere. He came down. I promise you, he was in shock. He did not say a word. So he sells that just for the story, but you guys are history. He did not say that. He did not say that. And then we went in the dressing room and he did not speak. He didn't say a word. Everybody thought, is he going to be all right, this kid? Is he going to go out and bowl? And then he got a ball in his hand. And what you saw then, he made me look like an off spinner that day. And I think what annoyed him more than anything is, but during that period where me and Devon played together, everybody considered him a fast bowler. Free Serve, an internet company, right, used to pay 10 grand for the Englishman who bowled the quickest delivery of the year. And I won that 4 years in a row. That bought me this house. Because you used to get a bonus every year for bowling by an Englishman, the fastest ball bowled by an Englishman in a home summer series. I won it 4 years in a row until he won it. He won it then. And then I won it 4 years in a row after that.
That's brilliant.
It's a game I think you probably remember with slightly more fondness than us South Africans do, but it was some great cricket to watch, and it was one of many career highlights on the field. You've had many off it though, and Alan and I were talking about this earlier in the lengthy production meetings that we always have before these shows, and we looked at the Strictly Come Dancing career, which was amazing. But we also looked at some of the work you've done in a slightly more creative space where we've seen, for me, it's almost a kind of a young Daniel Craig meets kind of a Sean Connery with a touch of Errol Flynn. In fact, I think Ronaldo, our producer here, has got some of the early video work of the great Darren Gough.
Costco's my local. It's just round the corner. Hi, Lou.
Hi, Darren.
I can pop in to save time, waste less, and get great value on a fantastic range right on my doorstep. And best of all, some great deals too.
Like 12 packs of Felix sachets are only £2.50, or any bottle of Bulmer's cider is now £1.29. And look, Fairy dishwasher tablets are now half price.
Hi, Darren.
Hi. So pop into your local Costco. Now that's what I call a local.
Oh, you're just such a natural. It's almost Shakespearean. And Alan, you've done a lot of Shakespeare.
I've done Shakespeare, my friend. That is a veritable thespian in the making. And I'll tell you another thing. Costcutter must have done the wardrobe as well, because that brown jersey thing that you're wearing, it's about as brown as an Indian Test pitch that they're playing. It's tremendous. It's really lovely. Quality, Dad. Quality.
There's a story behind that advert. Let me tell you why I did it. The owner of Costcutter is the very one and only Colin Graves. Now, Colin Graves was the ECB chairman. But back in the day, I'm the one responsible for getting him into cricket. He's always been a fan of it. But I got him in my benefit committee in 2001, representing Yorkshire for 15 years or whatever it was. And I got him on board as my chairman. And then he got involved with Yorkshire because they saw he'd got money and they thought, oh, he'd be good on our board. Then he became director. Then he went to the ECB. So as a favour, I owed him because he was on my benefit committee. So I did him that advert. And would you believe it, guys? I did that for next to nothing. A normal advert in the UK, you would get a nice little earner, right, boys? That I did for zip. Literally zip.
That's hilarious.
Well, look, you could probably afford to, because not only did you have a long and very successful cricket career, but you were also, and if you thought cost cutters, if you're out there watching, you think, geez, that cost cutters work, that was pretty impressive. You probably took an even bigger step forward into the world of global commercial endorsement as the face, the man behind, was it Welsh Power Cheese? I think we've got a picture of it. There we go. Collier's Powerful Welsh Cheddar. If I think Alan Committie, which global sportsman do I think of when I'm thinking of a powerful Welsh cheddar? I've got to say Darren Gough's the only player who comes to mind.
That's the only name that comes to mind. That's no joke.
The advert for that, by the way, boys, I came up with all these like clever ideas what I thought were clever, like playing different periods of the history, because I love history, right? So one of them, I was going to be Henry VIII. You can imagine that guy. I was going to be Henry VIII, walking in, and the guy came in with the old silver, the tray, lifted it off, and then the strap line would have been Collier's Powerful Welsh Cheddar. So I was going to do it through the history, right? I came up with all these ideas, and they managed to put together a 2-minute advert in Welsh for a Yorkshireman. And I had to do, it took nearly 8 hours to film the advert. I had to speak Welsh. But this was a long time ago, but I used to love that cheese, and I still buy it now. I still buy it. It is sensational. And that is an old clip. Where did you get that from, boys? What have you been looking at?
We got all of the stuff from the Northern Johannesburg branch of the Darren Gough Supporters Club, which is still in belligerent form. Look, it looks brilliant. And what I love about that endorsement, and I know Alan and I were equally envious. Yes, you've played at Lords. Yes, you've been to Cricket World Cups. Yes, you've got to hang out with KP as a paid extra at his wedding. But what really struck me was that through your relationship with Collier's Powerful Welsh Cheddar, you got to attend the International Cheese Festival, Darren Gough.
Hey, I did, and I judged it, and I was amazed how many different cheeses you can get. And I mean, chicken tikka cheese. Would you have ever thought you can get a chicken tikka? You can get a chicken tikka cheese, and for doing it, spending 8 hours at the International Cheese Awards, all I got was one of them things you stick in a bit of cheese and you twist it, and you pull it out, smell it, and then stick it back in. What about that? That's all I got for doing that. But
there's a lot of.
It's still my favorite. Cheese out of anything is my favorite food. I love it.
There's a lot of things I would have associated with you with, and I've certainly been a huge admirer. I did not know you were going to spread the word of cheeses. That is just incredible.
And that's all free as well. Not getting paid anymore. It's not a paid endorsement anymore. It's all free.
Oh dear, we need to get you some new management, I think, Mr. Gough. We do have one other very special guest with us this evening, Darren. I know Alan's going to pick him up because he's arriving in studio in just a moment. So, Alan, I'll let you grab him. While Alan gets, we have a quiz each week. It's 5 very simple questions. Generally, the results are woeful. I think Vernon Philander got 1 out of 5, and JP Duminy 1.5. Chris Morris was slightly better. So basically anything over 2 and you're outperforming. So the great Darren Gough quiz is ready to go. If you are ready, Mr. Gough.
I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. Your very first question, and this relates to your status as one of the world's great modern dancers. Cricketers haven't done too well, with the exception of you and Mark Ramprakash in this particular competition around the world. In fact, the next best performance I could find was a former New Zealand all-rounder who finished runner-up in Dancing with the Stars New Zealand in 2018. Which slightly balding all-rounder is probably New Zealand's best cricketing dancer?
Wow. A New Zealander, a Kiwi. Well, the only all-rounder I can think of is Chris Cairns, but it's definitely not him. Scott Styris? No. No idea.
The answer, and the balding might have given it away, was Chris Harris.
Oh, I did know that as well. I can't believe it, just lost it. Chris Harris is similar age to me, because I went to New Zealand in '89 as a young lad, and I played in their domestic cricket, learning my trade. And Chris Harris I played against him on numerous occasions.
Very similar, just about 83 miles an hour slower than you off his lengthy run. But annoyingly good, particularly against South Africa. Okay, 0 out of 1. We can only get better from here, one hopes. Your very last test match, we've already spoken fondly about it, so we thought we'd bring it back. You had, I'm not sure if this is good or not, but you were dismissed in both innings by the same combination of bowler and fielder. Do you remember who that bowler-fielder combination was?
The bowler was Pollock. The fielder caught mid-wicket. Who would be fielded? Adams?
It was indeed Paul Adams in both innings.
That's a pure guess. I was just thinking mid-wicket. Who would they have hidden at mid-wicket? Yeah, Paul Adams.
All right. Well,
slogged him up in the air. I went out playing. I knew I was going to retire, you see, in my mind. And I went out the second innings and I was smashing it everywhere. I tucked into a few of the South African bowlers, and Pollock bowled me a slow ball. I hit it straight so high in the air, you wouldn't have believed. And Adams just took it.
Oh, there we go. Paul Adams now coaching Cape. In fact, I played a game with him against the Lord's Taverners last year, and he stuck Andy Caddick into the car park with a big smile.
Wow. Wow.
All right. In fact, I dismissed Andy Caddick in that game, so there's my cricketing claim to fame for last year. Okay, question number 3. You're 1 from 2, going well so far. Your very first one-day international. Do you remember who your first wicket was?
Of course I do. Martin Crowe, Coach Stewart.
Martin Crowe, indeed. What was it? Talk us through the delivery.
Well, it was pretty quick, back of a length, and he nicked it to Alex Stewart at slip, believe it or not. And it was a cold day, and Stewart, it hit him so hard. And he always says to this day at slip, that is the ball that come to him quickest in his whole career. When he didn't have his gloves on, he was stood at first.
Do you remember, for a bonus point, who your second one-day wicket was?
Oh, Young.
Brian Young top scored in that game, I think.
Yeah, he did. He had a white helmet on, and I can remember it. I think it was a Yorker I got Brian rung out with. Yeah, it was. It was a Yorker, bowled him. And then I got injured. The story of my career, really. Play a game, get injured, have a couple of weeks off, and then come back again.
Football had Darren Anderton, cricket had Darren Gough. All right, question number 4. You could have been a multi-trillionaire footballer by now, but you opted not to take up that contract you were offered when you were 19 with Rotherham FC. Who did they lose to in the championship this weekend?
What, Rotherham?
Yeah.
Well, my mate plays for Rotherham at this moment in time. I should know because I look at his results because my mate plays. But who did they lose to? Let me think. To guess, it wasn't my team. I support Barnsley, by the way. So, Rotherham, who did they lose to? Shall we say Doncaster?
Not a bad guess. I'm afraid it was Reading. 1-0 defeat to Reading at the weekend. All right. Well, you are. You've got 3 points because we gave you a bonus point. So this could be a new record. In fact, I think it's a record already, but it'll extend the record. Final question. You only ever played in 2 T20 matches. In your debut game, this gentleman was amongst the opposition. Do you remember who he is?
Kasperovich.
Indeed, Mike Kasperovich, a slightly younger version there, who appears to be wearing some colonial era pajamas. But there we go, Mike Kasprowicz. 4 out of 5, Darren Gough. That might be up there with winning Champion of Champions in Strictly Come Dancing.
Again, Casper, similar age to me. I think, I'm not sure. I might have played even England under 19s against Kasprowicz. We're going that far back. Damien Martin, Langer, Kasprowicz, Cottrell, Gilchrist. They had some good players. No wonder they were good in the 90s.
All right. Well, their chief tormentor has just got 4 out of 5. So congratulations, Darren. That's a great result. Before we let you go, we do have one other special guest who I know is very, very excited to meet you. You might have to listen a little closely because the accent is not one you'll find a huge amount of in Yorkshire. But it gives me great pleasure to welcome to Two Full Tossers the Life Vice President of the Griqualand North Scorers and Umpires Association, meneer Johan van der Walt. Baie welkom, meneer.
Baie dankie, it's a great ear, it's a great honor. Oh, this is beautiful. To actually be sitting here, to be looking for myself at this, what is only can be described as a legenda, a legend. You, sir, are a wonderful, you're an icon for me, you know. Beautiful. And I was listening for you, and you talk funny. I'm not going to be honest. I'll be honest with you. It sounds strange to my ear. I'm sure it sounds strange even to your bloody ear. What the hell? What is behind you? What is Sterky? What is that star behind you? Is that an award? What is that? It's beautiful. It's a starfish.
That is the Champion of Champions, Strictly.
Fluxum. So do you carry that around with you and put it up wherever you're talking for people?
It's above my head wherever I go. I got my England cap there.
Oh.
Hang on.
Go on. What? Wys vir ons. What did you do?
There's the Strictly.
Oh, that is a beautiful ball, eh?
That's the Strictly glitter ball, boys.
Yeah, very nice glittery ball. You need a big protector for that. That is interesting. Why is it so bloody dark then? Because we have load shedding here in South Africa, you know, where the electricity get cut out. Are you having troubles? Maybe you should do more cost-cutting adverts or something. What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you what I did, boys. I thought I'd look after you because I know what it's like to go to South Africa and I'd make you feel at home. Because here it's about 7:30 at night now. So we're cutting back on electricity because it's been a hard 12 months for everyone in the UK. We've had lots of things going on. We've got all sorts of viruses and pandemics, whether it be the Bristol virus, the South African virus, the Brazilian virus, the UK virus, the Australian virus. So we are cutting back. We are seriously cutting back.
Yeah, well, you look healthy, man. You know, I myself don't even wear a mask. I use my teeth, which protect the virus from coming in. So the teeth actually, it's a fulcrum. I think it's a technical term. Okay, look, now I got some quick questions, and the rule here, Mr. Is it Gough? Is it Gough? Yeah, Mr. Gough. The rule here is you answer quickly. You don't give me any long explanations because you can talk a little bit. Just give me the answer, and then we move on. Okay, please. To be expedient here, I believe. Okay, for you, a Yorker of a slow ball?
Yorker.
Fish and chips of a Greg's sausage roll?
Fish and chips.
Oh, lekker. Mooi. Would you rather give a death stare or a clever chirp or a sledge?
Death stare.
Okay. For you, Graham Hick of Graham Thorpe?
Oh, dear me.
Oh.
Graham Thorpe.
Oh, Hicksy will be very happy with that. Well done. AB de Villiers, AB de Villiers of Virat Kohli?
Virat Kohli.
Okay, fine. Looks some. Yorkshire pudding or Jeffrey Boycott?
Jeffrey Boycott.
Always. Dirty dancing or strictly ballroom?
Dirty dancing.
Well, if you're dirty dancing enough, then you strictly don't have any ballroom. It's a little joke that I made up now. Don't worry about it. Joe Root or Michael Vaughan?
Oh, the better player, Joe Root.
Is a good answer. Okay. And then Headingley of Lords? You got to choose. You must choose.
Lords.
I'll keep it between us. And then finally, and this is the hardest question you'll face all night, the Springbok rugby side or the guys who came second? You think about that when you don't have to answer everything. Don't worry. This has been a great honoration. Baie dankie vir die gepraatry. Thanks for the talking and lovely to see you. And take that star with you because you are a star in my eyes, no matter what people say about you. It's a groot eer. Ek moet nou loop. I've got to go. I don't have time for this. Listen.
There we go. Johan van der Walt. That'll be one of the more memorable interviews you'll conduct, I suspect, in 2021, Darren. Before we let you go and run through your scripts for tomorrow's Cost Cutters commercial, of all the memories of your cricketing time in, against, with South Africans, aside from the large check you got from doing KP's wedding, what would the highlight be?
I think, well, you guys know I love South Africa. I go there at least 3 or 4 times a year. I love going out on safari. I do a lot for the charity Care for Wild, helping the Rhino Orphanage. But the best test match for me was when we went out to South Africa for the first time in '95, and I was lucky enough to meet one of the most amazing characters I ever met in my life, Nelson Mandela. And I'll never forget it in Soweto. Met him in Soweto, and he signed a book for me, which I've got up here now, signed, first edition, and I'll never forget that meeting. The most amazing person I've ever met in my life.
Don't let Kevin find out that you've just said that.
Well, he's second. He's the second most amazing person. Saying that, I don't know if you saw the pictures of Kevin today. He's arrived in India again. He chose the money for not the first time in his life. He chose money over friendship by going to India to play in this Road Series Legends, and he's the only legend in the England side. I don't know any of the others. But he's got a white suit on. I don't know if you saw it. He come off the aeroplane and they've covered him in this white suit. And I said, "What, are you going to quarantine now for 7 days?" He went, "No, just 24 hours. What's the point? Well, what's the point? 24 hours.
Yeah, I did see those pictures. He looks like a large human condom, which is not entirely inappropriate.
Chuckle Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. Alan Committie, your final memory on the great Darren Gough?
Oh man, I think what I will always remember about your playing days was that you were maybe one of the last big real characters in a sport that was slowly kind of starting to transition to like true professionalism and fairly bland. I mean, I don't mean, but certainly is in terms of the personality on the field. And I think that was one of the pleasures of watching you. You weren't only brilliant at what you did, but you looked like you enjoyed it, and you made sure that we enjoyed your enjoyment, which was always a delight.
Hey, it's what it's all about, you know. My first 2 years on tour, '94, we all did the fancy dress. I put a picture on my Instagram yesterday, and memories flooded back. We all used to do a fancy dress party at Christmas. So that was the first one. And then the best one was South Africa, when we all put live chickens in Jack Callis's room. So he'd come back from a day training the nets. Him and Bounce were rooming together. And Dean Conway, the physio, who knew him from the Kirk Glamorgan days, we'd had this team meeting, and he'd wound us all up by putting these chickens in our room and that. And then we took them and put them in Jack's room. And you can imagine Jack Callis, can't you? With a load of chicken in his room. With chicken shit all over his room to go with his toasted cheese sandwich. He wasn't happy.
Oh dear. Darren, it has been an absolute delight catching up with you. Not just a wonderful cricketer, not just a 3-time Strictly champion, not just, I think you were 5 different seasons voted the only good cricketer in England, which was also a fabulous achievement. But I know the work you do supporting KP's legacy and supporting Care for the Wild are fantastic as well. So come back to South Africa soon. My wine cellar in particular awaits as soon as you touch down, and really appreciate the time on 2 Full Tossers tonight.
Hey, by the way, what you've got to do, I've seen your wine. I love talking about wine. You've got to go and taste the Care for Wild wine, the Darren Gough Care for Wild wine. It's now won 4 awards already. It's only been out 4 months. We've got 7 different varieties. It's all made in South Africa at Walker Bay. So you should taste it, mate, while you're out there. You'd love it.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get hold of some of that, and then I'll give you a shout during the week, and we'll set up one of the wine shows, and we'll do some wine tasting, and I think that'll be a great next step on the Darren bromance.
Definitely. I'm off for another glass.
Enjoy it. Yes.
Can I put the lights on? Can I put the lights on?
Yes. You.
Light a few candles. There we go. Our very special guest, wasn't it? Absolute rock star, isn't he, Alan Committie?
Incredible man. Yeah. What a pleasure. So this is good. Episode 7, we've gone international, and that's about us. Listen, it would have been nice to have KP on, but maybe another time. I think we scored tonight. We got real quality, didn't we?
We did indeed. Darren Gough, our special guest on Two Full Tossers, myself, Dan Nicholl, and Alan Committie, and we'll be back again next week. And if you missed it live, you're just tuning in now, or you've got friends who'd love to watch it, it is available on Facebook and YouTube. Big thank you to Darren Gough for joining us tonight, and we'll see you back again on Two Full Tossers Monday night next week. Goodbye.